So I just really need you to know that your art teacher was full of shit. Because I know that you had that one art teacher or English teacher who told you that your work wasn't good enough, that you weren't creative, that this is pointless, so why are you bothering with it? And they were full of crap. And look, I'm not dumping on teachers. I am well aware of how tough it is to be a teacher. I could not do it 100%. And I really hope that teachers are given better guidance about handling pupils' creative dreams now than they were when I was a child. Except that I kind of don't think things have improved as much as I'd hope. And I know from having worked with so many people to help them reconnect to their creative practice and develop a sense of creative confidence that they've not had before, how many people were knocked back early in life by a teacher who said something cruel or unthinking or maybe well-meaning but just really not helpful about their work, and then that just destroyed them and then they didn't create at all. And I had one. So when I was 8, I so vividly remember this. We all had to queue up to the teacher to show her our paintings that we'd done, and we had to paint a tree branch. So I'd done a branch with leaves on it, and I queued up and waited my turn, and I showed the picture to the teacher, and she just shouted at me for what felt like a really long time about how awful it was, and she made fun of it. She said it looked like a woolly caterpillar. She was joking, but in that really nasty, aggressive way, you know, when people make a joke but it's like really barbed. And so the class all kind of laughed because that's what kids do when a teacher's making a joke at someone else's expense. And I felt horrible. I felt absolutely horrible. And the story in my head for the next 30 years was, I'm no good at art. And I was very happy to fully embrace the writer side of me. And I was like, I do words, I write, I'm no good at pictures. And that was my story for ages. And it was only when I went to another art therapy session and I had to be dragged there, absolutely dragged by a friend who was like, no, we're going. And I'm really glad she did, because I was like, no, I can't do art. I shouldn't be anywhere near this. And I was promised faithfully that I didn't have to have any skills in art, that it wasn't about creating a nice picture, that it was all about engaging with art in the way that we used to when we were children and just getting in there and making a mess. And I was like, okay, that I can do. So I went along and I had a great time splashing the paint around and making a mess. And I was like, I love this. This is great. And actually I looked at what I'd created at the end of it and I was like, this looks okay. This is pretty good. And I've actually got a painting on my wall that I did in a similar session, because I was like, do you know what? I can do this. And art doesn't have to look like stuff. Anyway, I'm still not, you know, pictures of things that look like things, not so much me. But pictures with paint splashed around and all sorts of, you know, abstractness happening, yes, all over it, all day long. But it took me 30 years to get back into enjoying art, all because of this one teacher. And so yeah, with all the love and respect to teachers and the tough job that they do, we also need to be aware a lot of people, especially when they come to teaching something like art or creative subjects, they come into this with a lot of their own issues and their own baggage, and maybe they're not where they wanted to be with their art career, and sometimes that spills out a little bit, especially back in the 90s when I was at school. So we need to interrogate what they said a little bit, and that's really hard when you're a child, because the teacher, the authority figure, you just accept it, and they said you were terrible at art, so your story is therefore that you're terrible at art. And it's really hard so many years later to start unlearning that conditioning. But I'm here to tell you, your teacher was talking bollocks. You can do whatever you like. You are an artist, because we all are. Art is subjective anyway. I mean, just look at who wins the Turner Prize. who knows whether it's genius or an absolute mess. Everyone's got their own opinions, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're never going to win any art prizes or have a gallery show. The process is the point. We do it because it's fun and we enjoy it and it makes us feel good, and that is amazing for our well-being. So fuck your art teacher. They are absolutely full of crap.